Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock, a live stream for December 15th. We are back once again with CloudMD. Dr. Issam Hamza, the legend returns.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Great. So we're gonna have, I think a lot of questions for you today. So for anybody new, I know every time we have you on, our audience kind of grows like by 30% more every time more people add. So for anybody that's new to the program, what Wall Street Reporter's next super stock is about is bringing you companies which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So these are companies that are going after three things: multi-billion-dollar market opportunities. They have multiple catalysts in place which can create value, and they're at the threshold of explosive growth. And finally, most importantly, they have a CEO that gets it when it comes to maximizing shareholder value. And I think if you watch today's presentation, you will agree that CloudMD has those characteristics. But here's what I would suggest: is you watch the kind of the presentation, the Q&A, and ask your questions to Dr. Hamza, and then decide for yourself if CloudMD is going to be our next. It's going to be beyond. It could be the next 100. Is it going to be the next 100 bagger? We're going to find out. You're close to the 10x now, so we got to see the what is the full potential. So with that said, Dr. Hamza, I'd like to kind of jump into, before we get into the news, I really want to talk about a lot of the recent news because it seems to me that you've had some key news which the market hasn't quite understood, because the stock, you see the stock has been relatively, quiet for the last month. So the market may not understand it. Maybe you could explain it so that, I think that people could understand, how, transformational some of those developments are. But before we do that, for anybody new, please explain to them what's CloudMD all about, and kind of your vision for the future of healthcare, which is what makes this unique.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so CloudMD is really revolutionizing the way healthcare is delivered. If you get anything out of what we talk about and anything regarding any of the acquisitions we ever make, the whole idea is to change the journey of the patient through the healthcare system. It's been very broken over the years, very fragmented. Horrible experiences on all parts, from the patient to the doctor to the healthcare agent, the governments, and so on. And as, again, a physician and having over 100 years of medical experience on our team, we understood that broken system. We've been working on this for years, actually decades probably. So this is not a new thing that we've been working on, but we've really put something together here which is quite exciting. And the whole idea is to change the way that patient goes through the healthcare ecosystem. So instead of being very fragmented in the future, we just want that patient to be a CloudMD patient, and we take care of everything else. You're going to get concierge level experience within that system, whether you're seeing a primary care doctor, a specialist, an allied healthcare provider, whether you're an employee, whether you have a short-term mental health stressor or a long-term need for counseling, or need to see a psychiatrist, or you get an injury and we need to get you back to work. It doesn't matter. The whole point is we're going to treat you holistically, which has never been happened really in healthcare at this scale, and get you back to work or get you healthier faster, and working as a team and using technology, our own proprietary technology and platform, to achieve that. And so if you think about that, you get the buy-in from everybody. You get the buy-in from the patients, you get the buy-in from the providers, because we're empowering the providers, and you get the buy-in from the governments and the insurers and the corporations. And going back to what we were talking about, 2020 was a big year, obviously, for us. I think this was the hard year. If you think about what we've done, what we've really laid in terms of foundation and different pieces in that puzzle, 2021 is the exciting part, I think, and we can talk more about that today.
Okay, no, it's very interesting because a lot of times, again, from seeing, watching stocks from many years now, like I've seen kind of companies, at the stage of where cloud is, and there's that kind of first wave, and people get excited, but then they're expecting the stock to go straight, up 100x right away. But usually, there is, the company kind of the stock has to consolidate a little bit, and then the company comes in with the next wave, the real, the real inflection point. So in other words, I think what they saw in July, August, September was, like a preview, but I think so. We're going to see kind of the real inflection point happening right now, and that kind of leads me to the enterprise part. Is that one of the key catalysts? Is that one of the big things?
It is, because we put a lot of those pieces together recently. So a lot of people look at those transactions separately, like individually, and say, "Oh, you paid X multiple of this." You really got to think about it as together, a framework, and that patient now within that experience. And so that was the hard part, getting these really kind of amazing assets, amazing companies and teams together and agreeing to join us and actually, being part of it, of our company and aligned with us. And now you're going to see the fruits of the labor. Now we're going to be able to start announcing these, 7+ figure contracts with some of the biggest names in the world because of the thing that we provided, which no one else has, which is that full encompassing kind of provisions in terms of all the different aspects of it. So historically, if you think about the way an insurer works or the way a corporation works, they might have multiple vendors for that same employee or that same customer of theirs. And so if you're going through a divorce, let's say, and you got stress and you need some time off of work or whatever, they have one vendor that deals with that, right? So they might give you one phone number to take care of that. And then if you need counseling and long-term, mental health, they might have another vendor for that. And then if you injure yourself, then you kind of have to go through a different vendor for this part, but really your primary care doctor if you have one, and so on and so on. It's very fractured. No one talks to each other, and they treat you as pieces, right? Which doesn't work. I mean, most physical injuries are actually very heavily mental health problems, right? Long-term. And so the fact that we can treat them holistically, take care of it for these employers and these insurance companies is revolutionary. No one's been able to kind of put it all together all at once. And so we're going to be able to start announcing some of these big things in 20. That's why I said 2021 is the exciting part. 2020 was the hard part. So you're right. There was a big move since August. I think that was a preview, hopefully.
Okay. So, so it's very interesting. So a couple of things I want to touch on. You mentioned, there's kind of a word you mentioned, it kind of just hit me, is you explained the whole patient experience. I think you used the word experience. So essentially, what you're offering patients is it's a new type of experience. It's really a new way of looking at healthcare, where they're getting the full suite, and which is going to be a very important thing for big companies. I'm going to use an example, like we talked about, like, I don't know, let's say a Facebook or a Google. I'm using like the big guys who will pay top dollar for the whole healthcare thing. So for them to get a solution where it's a turnkey for they have the mental health, the physical health, the addiction thing. Now you're adding the addiction suite, patient
education, rehab. It doesn't really matter. It's not up to the patient to triage themselves, which is what we've asked them to do right now. They're not equipped to do that, and the system it punishes people for not being proactive and understanding the system. And we're saying, don't worry about it. Just talk to us. We'll take care of it. And that's kind of the point. And the example I would give is, people pay lots of money right now for executive healthcare, right? These executive healthcare firms where you sign up and they give you kind of concierge level treatment and all that. Think of that on steroids.
So basically that's going to be CloudMD now.
That's CloudMD, and so it doesn't matter if you're Joe
at scale,
Joe Blow or CEO Joe. It doesn't matter. You're going to be able to get that experience, a better experience, but also we're going to be able to show the metrics of what it means, like the actual metrics of getting you back to work faster and healthier faster and reduce burden. And that's really important when you start talking to governments and to insurers and to different corporations and so on. It really is revolutionary, like I said, and the technology's there. And we've done the hard part. We put all our own we built the proprietary platforms and the technologies. We brought in all the experts and all the different firms to provide this. Those are the puzzle pieces we put together, and we're not done. We have over 50 million in the bank. We have an incredible platform and an infrastructure built out right now. and we're going to start proving to the market that you're going to see, hopefully dramatic organic and inorganic growth. We have an incredible strong pipeline still of acquisitions we're working on. And the reason that we are able to get that is because, a year ago, no one knew who we were. Definitely, we have the word out now, and people have inbounded quite a bit and wanting to join our team, which is great.
Yes. Okay. So basically, this is the inflection point. In terms of, I want to get into kind of the health tech suite. We haven't talked about. I'm going to ask about that. But so essentially, we're going to see. I think one of the big things we're going to see in 21 is that the organic revenues coming from the enterprise side. Is that correct?
Partly, yeah, absolutely. You'll see some hopefully dramatic increases there with some big contracts. And these contracts tend to be, like I said, 7 figures plus per year and multi-year and recurring, right? And so that's going to be interesting, like I said, once we can start announcing these things.
Okay, so that I think that's kind of like a key takeaway here. Is once the enterprise thing starts, that could be, there's going to be is it fair to say there's going to be a consistent news flow of new contracts coming in?
Yeah, as much as possible. The great thing about it, especially when we start focusing, again, I've been telling you guys this for a long time, that mental health, right? I said, watch this be the topic going forward. We said it's going to be holistic care and mental health, right? We don't talk COVID. We've never really talked COVID. It makes up very little of anything in terms of our company. If anything, our revenue would kind of go up post-COVID and the way we've structured things. And so it's very important to understand that when you talk to corporations and insurance companies and governments, when you start talking about holistic care, when you start talking about empowering practitioners, engaging patients, better outcomes, you get them on side, and they all want to announce things, right? Like you noticed, we just had an announcement yesterday, I think, with the government of Canada with regards to the mental health teamwork that we're doing with them and on IMD and patient education tools. Like I'm saying, we have kind of big organizations and big governments that want to promote the fact that they are providing better care for their patients or their customers. And so we'll try to announce as many as we can for sure.
Okay, and by the way, and the IMD, that's part of what I'm going to call your health tech suite.
Yes, it's kind of a proprietary world-class patient education tools that is just seeing dramatic, explosive growth for us because it's so needed in all aspects of healthcare. And so, like I said, I think it's going to be pretty exciting here going forward.
Okay, we're gonna jump into audience questions in just a second. I see some good questions coming in right now. I'll ask the first one, actually. I'm going to ask the first one. DH is asking, how close are we in terms of getting 7-figure enterprise deals? In other words, when does the first one happen, and how long will it be before we see the second one announced? Because we need to see tempo. The market needs to see a tempo.
I can't give timelines, but I can just tell you that there's a reason we did everything the way we did it, and there's a reason that we are incredibly aggressive with what we've done. And what I would say to you is that it's if people are trying to time things in terms of the market and so on, that can be sometimes dangerous because again, we will announce when we can announce, and it's an exciting time of the year.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess this Cassie I think this is what you're trying to say, right? Treating people. Okay, not just the problem. It's okay. So,
yeah, but that's exactly it. I mean, that's historically what's happened, right? You treat a problem, right? You treat one issue. Oh, you have, your right shoulder hurts. That's just because your right shoulder hurts. It's not. I mean, it could be many different things. It could be ergonomic. It could be mental health. It could be the way you do stuff. And it becomes a chronic disease, and then you need counseling because you back off of work and you're unemployed and so on. So you have to treat the person holistically for sure. And that's the new way you're going to see it. Hockey stick. Yes, exactly. I don't think Mark knows what a hockey stick is in the US there, but the analogy I always make is absolutely hockey stick, but I still think we're in that blade right now. We're just kind of turning that corner in that blade right now.
Okay. Yeah, things are at the inflection point. So let's see here. We got, I want to, okay, one thing, before we started the live stream, we were kind of like chatting a little bit, and, you said that you were in the stock market like since you're like 18. So,
Mhm.
so, that's been like basically, 3 years now, because you look like a young guy. So,
Yeah,
but I think one of the key things, right, is here's what I'm trying to understand, which I think is probably what institutions that you're talking to a lot of institutions now, and I think they're probably trying to wrap their head around like what is the proper valuation here for, which is essentially a new model of healthcare because
right,
there should be a premium attached to it. I know, I mean, like cloud is still trading at a discount compared to a lot of the peers,
sure,
because you got the health tech component, which ties into telemedicine. You got the kind of this transformational, healthcare.
right.
What is, there is a real value add here, or the alpha component, whatever you want to call it. How should this be valued? Because it's really a new model.
It is a new model, and I think it's even a more lucrative model than a pure SaaS play or a pure roll up. And you see those two kind of companies exist. You might have like a pure platform play, SaaS revenue for practitioners, and they have a hard time with customer acquisition costs and so on. And you got the pure roll-up plays that just try to work on the numbers and get it at a certain multiple and trade at a higher multiple and keep raising money to do more roll-up. That's people can go for that. That's understandable. That's been around forever. We're talking a new way of delivering healthcare that is much bigger than either one of them by themselves or even together. And the reason is because there's incredible value of not only retaining that full revenue stream from all aspects of the healthcare team, from the patient to the practitioners to the providers to the the whole scale. But once you start showing the metrics as well in terms of the savings, you get much better numbers. I think you're going to see in terms of multiples, but the efficiencies that we're going to be able to show as well, and those metrics, I think is going to demand much higher numbers as well. And it's much easier to grow those revenues than a pure SaaS play, let's say. And so this is something you're going to see. Number one, a reevaluation of the way it's the multiples in it. But you're also
Expansion. We need to see the multiple expansion.
Yeah, but you're also going to see traditional players. Let's say for instance, like the teledocs, and they already have started this already. The pure kind of tech plays and all that, moving down in that space where they're trying to do the full ecosystem.
They're moving into the bricks and mortar.
Yeah, and you're going to see the Amazons of the world and the Apples and everything else as well. So you're going to see the tech players coming down here because they see that reason to do it, and you're going to see that really soon, I think, and that's going to be a big boost to the space because you're going to see consolidation. They don't tend to do this organically; they tend to acquire players in that space.
Is that a hint? Is Amazon, I asked you before, I like to make a joke about it, but it's not really a joke. It's like, you never know, right? I mean, could Amazon buy cloud? Why not?
Yeah, again, Amazon is, I put that name out. But Apple and there's a bunch of different ones out there. They're going into healthcare for a reason. It's a huge space.
It's kind of the one thing that they're missing, really. I mean, Amazon is
the most lucrative space, and it's untapped right now, right? It's just massive opportunity there for sure.
Okay. Okay. So I think what's interesting is so I'm gonna take it from this angle. Is what will be interesting for one of these so-called tech players, if they're looking at cloud, one of the things that you have is not only do you have the bricks and mortar, the actual, the doctors and all that service, but you also have the health tech suite, which is
and the data, and we have a ton of data, right? We have 8.5 million patient charts. We have I can't remember how many thousands of providers now. I think 4,000 providers directly and probably tens of thousands indirectly right now on our platforms. That's extremely valuable. It's all rich data as well. So those are what I mean by rich data. For instance, is if I'm a provider, if I'm a family doctor, let's say, I can search my whole database right now of patients and find all my diabetic patients that are on certain medication or are not well controlled and should do better, and so I should call them in and help them. or look for combination of different lab results to find patients that could do better on a different medication or something like that. So that's all rich data that is extremely valuable in the long run for many reasons. That is much bigger than this episode today.
Oh yeah, no. This is again, we've talked about this before. Whenever I've had like CEOs of companies on who have like access to a lot of data, I always use the analogy. This is like, it's sort of like, you're buying a Texas cattle ranch. You're paying, I don't know, a little bit of money for the ranch and the cows on a couple of acres. But what you're really getting is you want the billions of barrels of oil that are beneath the ground. So the billions of barrels of oil, that's the data that you have. If you have 5 million patient charts, that could be, you can leverage that into revenues for drug discovery. There's also drug discovery
There's
data.
A lot of things you can do. And bringing in the patient there. So I'll give you an
example. Pure margin also, we should say.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's almost 100% margin, yeah. The way I explain it is this, because it's also a delicate topic. Imagine being a CloudMD patient in the future, right? And you own your data, right? That's, again, something we believe in here. And we allow you to opt in or opt out of anonymous studies in the future. So you might be a patient in our system. You can toggle on the app whether you want to be part of anonymous studies or not. And what that means is that they'll compensate you for it as well. So a lot of these pharma companies might compensate you for being part of these anonymous studies as well. So you actually may make money off your own data, which is unheard of in the data space as well. But you're seeing more and more companies start to do that. And the reason for it is the future of healthcare analysis requires data. And it's been very hard to get so far.
You have a scale. If you have 5 million,
a million or millions.
You're catching these people. They're actually.
Imagine, because right now the reason a lot of medications fail is they only test it in a very small subgroup of patients, demographics, right? But imagine if you have access to 1 million patients of all different types, and some of them are on the medication 1, and some are on medication 2, and you can run kind of bigger studies saying, okay, which one's getting better outcomes and stuff like that. So that's really exciting for me as a doctor, thinking about kind of the future of how much better we can get in terms of analysis and treatment options.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, and so we could probably see, can we see revenues come in from this data side like in 21? Is that going to be one of the initiatives?
Yeah, again, one thing you need to understand about our company is that we don't do things, in sequence kind of thing. It's not like we got to do this and then we got to do this. We're working on all aspects parallel right now. And so that's why we sometimes see a ton of news all at once and we're trying to time out the news and so on. We are working on so many things together at the same time. So that's why it's pretty exciting going forward.
We got a bunch of people asking about uplisting, TSX, NASDAQ, all that stuff. What's
yeah, we're getting it to a different kind of becoming a different kind of company. We uplisted from CSE to the TSX Venture. Quickly outgrew that. We're definitely going to be uplisting to TSX and the NASDAQ as well. And so those are on our radar as well. And again, like I said, we don't wait for one thing to do the next thing. Those are things that we already started the process for. And so, hopefully, like I said, 2021 will be exciting. And I think we'll be a different company at that point.
Okay, no, that's very interesting because I think, listen, if you're a NASDAQ, then all of a sudden there are more comps, with the teledocs and the other,
Sure.
I think there's people who say, oh, if a company goes on NASDAQ automatically, they uplist, the stock. It's not really true, but I think in the case of certain companies, if you have that already built-in audience of people looking for that type of stock, the health tech, healthcare, you have all of a sudden a massive pool of potential buyers opens up.
Yeah.
And
the audience is much bigger. The audience is much bigger in the U.S. right now. I think we're probably north of 80% of all my calls, my institutional calls and investor calls are U.S. Based right now. So there's definitely a ton of interest on the U.S. side.
Okay. I think one thing we got a couple of people asking about, we got the usual question, how does DOC compare with, the whole gamut? Tell us, the whole alphabet of companies in, everybody.
We don't try to compare ourselves to too many companies because we're really doing it a different way. And we're starting to see other companies start copying pieces of what we do, which is fine. It's flattering. But this is many decades in the making as well. But there's really no real one comparison of the way we've done it and the hard work we've kind of put into the way we've done it. Obviously, for multiple states, sometimes they'll use multiples of a peer, whether it's Well or whether it's Teladoc or whether it's One Medical and so on. But we're not exactly the same as any of them, really. So we're kind of forging a new path here, really.
And I think one of the key differentiators is the health tech suite.
We own everything.
I'm calling it the health tech suite. I mean, what are you calling your health tech sort of?
Yeah, it's the whole platform. We own everything. Again, the reason CloudMD came to existence was dealing with third-party vendors that were just not interested in innovation or integration and so on. And so as a policy in the company, we own all our own technology. We built everything in-house. We're turning on our own features. We're very nimble and we can add more things. We don't have any joint ventures or revenue sharing right now. And I think people would be surprised at how powerful our platform is and how extensive our platform is, to the point where, major competitors might be using it as well. So it's one of those things where I think it's interesting that the reason we did it the way we did it was because we are in control of our own destiny. And without the technology, you're only just another roll up or whatever, and you're building your whole business on something you don't own. And that's very fragile. And again, this is something we built over a long period of time, really paid we had a lot of pain and struggling kind of working it through, making sure that it works properly and it's very intuitive for the practitioners and the patients and so on. So it's not just turning on one feature or another feature. There's a reason for it.
Okay. It's an interesting comment. So healthcare cubed, or the Tesla of healthcare, I like to say.
Yeah, that's I think what you all say. For sure.
Okay, so we're going to get into audience questions, please. If we got a lot of questions coming in, Dr. Hamza, I'm going to ask you just if you can give us before we get into any more audience questions completely. I'm going to turn it over. Just give us just an overview of the health tech platform, because you have multiple components now. Just give us like a quick summary of the different.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to do as much. I'll try to as much as possible. So we have our EMR on the Canada side, which is an electronic medical record. So it's what the doctor uses when they type in your notes when you're seeing them in the office. So we own that platform. It's called Juno. It's used by about 376, almost 400 clinics across the country, almost 3,000 providers. We have about 3 million patient charts within that database. And so it's quite extensive. And then we built on top of it and it fully integrated into it a fully automated billing solution that's kind of an award-winning billing solution that, again, takes away the need for doctors to worry about, the day-to-day billing aspects of it and the automating a lot of different things. We have the patient portal built into it again, so that it takes care of so many different things, from online booking, so you can use that one app to book an appointment in real time, get instant confirmation, automatic reminders, secure chatting, has a bunch of different things. And like I said, we'll keep turning on different features on it. So that's on that part of it. We have a standalone telemedicine platform called LiveCare, and a lot of companies around North America are using that as a standalone if they already have their own EMR and they just want a secure, proven solution. We have that. With LiveCare, we also have the kiosks, so where they have like the stethoscope and the Bluetooth stethoscope and otoscope and so on, so that remote communities and, let's say, First Nation communities and so on, oil rigs, can have the ability to have a doctor thousands of miles away examine in high definition that patient. We have Snap Clarity, which is our mental health app. which is again proprietary and revolutionary. And I would encourage anybody to download it right now, try it out, answer a bunch of questions. They'll give you a mental health platform, dashboard, and then you have the ability to connect to one of 1,500 therapists across the country that we work with in our team. And so then we also have on the US side something called Benchmark Systems, which uses kind of, again, AI automation tools and patient engagement tools and so on. And that's another 1,000 practitioners, and again, another 5.5 million patient charts in that system. I'm missing probably a few things because, oh yeah, we have IMD, which is our world-class patient education tools. And I'm probably missing 10 other things, like I said, but the great thing about it is they're all amazing, and they all kind of work together immediately with all our other services and offerings.
Okay, so that's, I mean, again, so that is a key differentiator, adding to the quality of service and the ability, ability to scale everything else. So let's go into, we got Jay Thibodeau asking, how do you end-to-end concierge service multi? I guess he's asking about global domination. What are your plans for global domination?
We do have inbound quite a bit over the past year and more so lately with regards to expansion overseas. And again, like I said, our main focus right now is North America as a primary business model, just because it's a massive space already. It's $4 trillion. We want to make sure that the resources we have are used properly and focused on that, so we can get this rapid growth. It doesn't mean we won't have announcements with regards to partnerships around the world, for sure. It is things that we do have connections in different parts of the world, and again, if the opportunity warrants it without distracting us with our main focus, then definitely we're open to it.
Okay, we got Dwight asking. He's asking you. I'm Jack. I guess he's asking, in terms of online medical records, any insight on how family doctors will transfer those records to the cloud?
It's already in the cloud. So the 8.5 million patient charts we talk about, they're already all rich data in the cloud. So there's no transferring of those records. They're already there.
Dr. Hamza, you see this question here? We got Jake is asking about will CloudMD, I guess, eliminate the coding? Is that what that would be?
Yeah, no. So the hospital systems are a little bit different. I mean, hospitals in general, if you notice, we don't announce a lot of. We're really focusing on the community. Hospitals, there's very long lead times. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved. There's a lot of other things you have to understand, and so we don't tackle the hospital system much. There might be further news on that in the future, but right now our main focus is community, basically, which is massive on its own, and actually, to be honest with you, probably much easier to grow much faster because you're not dealing with bureaucracy and a whole bunch of other issues.
Okay. Mental health is the future. Looking to okay. So it seems like you're making you do spend quite a bit of time talking about, like, Snap Clarity, the mental health component. How big is the mental health going to be?
Massive.
Part of your revenue picture?
Yeah, it's going to be very. Well, again, we're separating revenue. I want to talk almost holistic revenue kind of thing. The same we talk about holistic patient, because that same patient that we might be treating physically and virtually, we'd be treating it for many different things as well, and they may be engaging in other tools and other services of ours. So it's kind of holistic revenue we talk about. But the mental health part of it, I think we went into telemedicine saying that, and this is again years and years and years ago, saying that mental health was going to be the great driver for that, right? And all that COVID did was speed up that considerably and magnify it considerably. And so you're going to see probably the main focus going forward around the world are the outcomes of COVID, not physically, but mentally. And so you're starting to see that now. You're starting to see some publications coming out, but our main focus has always been, don't forget about mental health. Make sure you provide this holistic care to patients, and we don't carve them up and so on. So you're going to see a lot of news on that aspect of it. Revenue, absolutely. And the reason revenue is dramatic in that space is that it's typically underserviced, but also it's very much in favor right now in terms of governments and corporations spending money on it, because it's in their interest to, number one, make sure that patients are healthy and working and back to work and so on, but also optically, governments and corporations and insurers want to make sure that they're showing their customers and their patients and their employees that they care about them. And so you're seeing a lot of news on the mental health aspect. So the contracts tend to be very big.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, it's sort of like you mentioned the COVID having an impact on mental health, and we've seen, a couple of, a kind of high profile cases, in the US, we had the guy from the Zappos CEO, he died. I mean, it was related to, I think he got into like addiction and everything. It was something like, it was a very kind of sad situation, but it was kind of related to the COVID, because I guess he was a very social guy, and all of a sudden he's cut off from his, you had this other guy in LA, that was a Stephen Bing, who was also very, again, these are like billionaires, and he ended up basically dying because
I think we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg with regards to the impact of COVID on mental health right now. Like, it really is just just the very early stages of what the impact is and what we're going to see. And unfortunately for all age groups. And that's why a lot of governments have tried to get kids back to school, not because they learn better at school, which they do, but because of the social interaction and the mental health aspects of it. They need that social interaction.
Okay, I want to. I think we're running kind of late. I want to see if we can wrap up with a couple of key points. We got to have you back on next week, because we're going to need a full hour probably. Okay, so DH is asking, can you elaborate on the recent partnership deal with Save-On? I guess this would be the telemedicine kiosks. Can you explain? You announced this.
I can't talk more about numbers right now or the details of it. Just that they've expanded that relationship considerably. The future of, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I think we started talking about this, I don't know when we started with you, Mark, but I started talking about the future is going to be Amazon coming into the space and start delivering medications to their Prime members. They announced that, right? So Amazon announced that they're going to start, you send in your prescription, and they'll send you the medication, maybe even at a discount if you're a Prime member and so on. So the future of the pharmacy business is not the legacy brick and mortar. It has to be e-commerce. It has to be convenience. And so you're seeing a big push from the big corporations, the big chains, working with companies like ours, basically making sure they have an e-commerce presence. And so you're going to see, much greater partnership on that aspect of it, and the ability for their millions of patients that they have to see doctors and get a prescription delivered and so on. They want to retain those patients within their ecosystem. So that's the partnership there.
Okay. So I mean, again, it's another key component. We haven't talked about the kiosks in a while, and that's a huge aspect. I want to actually ask you about. I think maybe we'll have time for just a few more things. I want to ask audience questions. In terms of the M&A pipeline, we haven't talked about M&A. Today we've been talking mostly about the massive organic growth opportunities, which is going to be that what's the hockey stick, the stick part, not the blade, the stick part now.
Yeah, now we're getting past the blade a little bit. Yeah,
we're going to move towards the handle. So, what's in the pipeline for M&A in the coming months?
We have a massive pipeline right now. Like, it's we are extremely well funded. Even with the money that we have right now, we have the opportunity to add considerable revenue to our bottom line with our working capital that we have right now. We have over 50 million in the bank, and we've been getting millions of dollars worth of warrants being exercised. Probably part of the pressure might be those warrants coming in, possibly, but that's bringing in millions of dollars into our company. And so we have we don't talk numbers in terms of the size, but I'll just tell you that it's actually, I can't tell you numbers. It's very, very big.
Massive.
Yeah, it is massive. Yeah, 100% massive. Absolutely. And the reason I don't want to talk numbers is because I'd rather kind of make sure that we show the value of what we're bringing in, and hopefully exceed expectations going forward.
Okay. We got David asking, when will you become profitable?
Yeah, I think we are careful always to talk about growth and how fast we're growing and so on. In our presentations, I think with regards to the consensus estimate, they have us down as being profitable in 2022. Again, with the acquisitions we're making, they're all already EBITDA positive. Hopefully we'll see it a lot sooner than that. But right now we're guiding people to the consensus assessments.
Okay. I mean, I think, again, like, as you know, speaking from like a market perspective, I don't think, NASDAQ investors, the market really cares about profitability. Right? They're not, they want the growth. They're paying for growth. It's a growth story.
I mean, again, like you said at the very beginning, I've been in the market since I was 18 years old, and they're Google and Amazon and so on, when they're growing, they were losing a lot of money as they were growing the client base, right? The customer base. That was all.
The stock just kept going up and up and up and up.
That's all they cared about initially. Market penetration. Yeah, market penetration. They'll turn on that switch to get profitability once they get a certain size, and when they did, you saw the explosive growth. That's what we're talking about right now, is getting just a massive footprint, really be leaders in the space. And then you'll see kind of the profitability explode from there because of the numbers that we have in terms of patients and doctors and providers and the full ecosystem.
Okay, so we covered the M&A part. What else can we expect? Is there any big announcements we can expect before the end of the year?
You have a great way of asking the same question kind of different ways.
Yeah.
No, I can't go into what we may or may not announce in between now and the new year, or in January, let's say, but it is exciting times. And I think I want to thank, our investors, that have really hopefully enjoyed the ride, but hopefully will continue to enjoy the ride going forward in 2021. 2020 was the hard part. I think 2021 will be the fun part. And it's going to be exciting times. Like I said, now you're going to start seeing the fruits of our labor. And again, I can't give you a timeline, but I'll just say stay tuned. Okay,
so the key takeaway from today is we're at the the real inflection point.
Now. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you again our favorite question. You've answered this before, but again, it's been a month, so maybe things have changed. In your opinion, top 3 reasons why investors should consider CloudMD stock today?
Again, a revolutionary way of delivering healthcare. It's really disrupting the system. It's not just another roll-up play or traditional pure SaaS revenue play kind of thing. It really is disrupting the way healthcare is delivered, quite revolutionary. And it's backed by, I'm not going to go through 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to say a bunch of things. You can put the numbers to them. It's backed by over 100 years of medical experience, so we understand the space quite well, and it's been de-risked quite a bit. So the risk you had a year ago is not the risk you have right now, let's say, in the fact that we're well funded. We have a solid base of infrastructure. We're well diversified in terms of shareholders, including significant institutional shareholders from all over the world, and we are having an amazing pipeline organically and inorganically that we're working on. And so it's a different company than it was a year ago. And I'm sure there's 3 things in there that I mentioned.
Okay, excellent. On that note, Dr. Hamza, I want to thank you. I want to have you back as soon as possible, because we're kind of out of time. We're going to have a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions we didn't get to. I'd like to get to. So hopefully we'll have you back on the next 10 days, depending on your schedule.
I'm around.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.